We see so much of the Afghan National Army alongside coalition troops in Afghanistan. It's hard to believe the force has only existed for a few years. British troops have stepped in to help with recruitment and training. They're preparing the men who'll help pave the way for NATO's eventual exit from the country. Lorna Ward has been to meet some of the Afghan soldiers based at the Kabul Military Training Centre.
They call it the exit strategy. Build a professional Afghan army and coalition troops can go home. That work starts on this patch of land at the foot of the mountains surrounding the country's capital city. 64 British soldiers are based at the Kabul Military Training Centre. They work alongside their Afghan colleagues to prepare the next generation for battle with the Taliban. And that's no easy task. There's a vast difference between the recruits, from the young and illiterate to the seasoned veterans who spent the 1980s fighting the Russians from the hills. Now they're back on familiar ground.
They've got a lot of experience and they're seeing a lot of sights that you probably wouldn't want to see yourself. And listening to their stories, some of them are funny, some of them are fairly shocking. But it's good to work for them. Again, it just brings in another angle to it. You've got the fresh guys who have no military experience. The only St Charmy's been developing in the last 6-7 years, to the Mujahideen blokes who've got sort of 12 years, dating back to the Russian ages when the Russians were in here. But it is funny. You do have to get the experiences from both sides and try and get them gelled together.
It's in these derelict houses that those years of experience come into their own. The older leaders passed on their skills in compound clearing and live firing under the watchful eye of their British colleagues. The training is already a victim of its own success. The facility is now bulging at the seams. At any one time, there are 10,500 Afghan soldiers at the Kabul Military Training Centre here. The Afghan army is a very young one. It'll have grown from just a few thousand soldiers to well over 100,000 in the space of just a few years. Now it's a case of moving from number crunching to experience and quality. And that means convincing recruits from competing ethnic groups to work as a team. Many speak different languages and have been pitched against each other for generations.
All Afghans in previous regimes have no unity among them. They live by their different names, Pashtuns, Hazari, and they fight each other in the name of those tribes. I try to explain to the students to ignore these things. I tell them please bring peace and better life, to improve life and have a successful life in the future.
That policy continues beyond the training centre. On graduation, ANA soldiers are deliberately posted across the provinces in ethnically mixed teams. Over 5,000 of them make the grade every month, and the training teams say they'll reach their target of 134,000 trained soldiers by the end of October. With a professional army of that size, the hope is they'll have a fighting chance of bringing long-term stability to Afghanistan. Lorna Ward, Forces News, Kabul.